Our two pages are inside this edit.dart and home.dart files. Before we go any further, let's create a new folder in the lib folder and we'll name it as models. Sorry, let me rename it. The models folder will contain the note model, which we'll be using throughout the app. Class note, and the class note will have 4 member variables, which are 2 integer variables id and date and 2 string variables title and content. Let's create an empty constructor for the class. We'll also create a named constructor note.fromMap, which will create an object of the class from the data received from the database table. The data received from the database table will be of the form map of type string, dynamic. We'll be creating the object by passing the values inside the map to the corresponding member variable. Each of the key of the map corresponds to the column name of the table in the database. So here map, and in it I'm calling the key title, which will be the value inside the title column in the table. We'll also create a function toMap, which does the exact opposite of our named constructor note.fromMap. This one will be returning a map of type string, dynamic from the values of the member variables. Before we leave, let's also create another new function, which is setDate. The setDate function will be called at the time of database insertion or updation, so that the date field inside our database is up to date. What the setDate function does is, it takes a datetime object of the time it is called and then it converts it into a string. The string will be the concatenation of the year field, month field, day field, hour field, minute field and second field respectively of the datetime object. Then we parse this into an integer and assign it to our date member variable. So here date equal to int.parse. That's the function used for parsing or creating an integer from a string. There, done. So this is what we have: 4 member variables, setDate function, 2 constructors and a toMap function. The node model is complete. Let's create a new folder inside the lib folder. We'll name it service, and inside the service folder we'll create a dart file db. Before we proceed any further, let's open our browser. We need to get 2 packages for a Flutter application. We'll retrieve that from pub.dev. So the first package will be the Sqflite package. Let's copy that and paste it into a pubspec.yaml file. Under the dependencies, I'll not be using the Cupertino icons package. So there. We also need another package, that is the path package. There. Let's look under the installing tab. There. Let's copy that and paste it inside the pubspec.yaml file. There. I'll be using a lesser version 1.6.4 instead of the latest 1.7.0. Okay, get dependencies. There, a new version of Flutter is available. This is why I used 1.6.4. 1.7.0 is not supported by my Flutter version. Coming back to our db.dart, let's import the 2 packages, sqflite.dart, and we'll also import the path package. Okay, let's create a class db. Let me close my browser window. Okay, coming back to our db class, it will have the main member variable, that is a static database object. We'll name it _database. The underscore basically means that the database object will be private to the class, and we'll create a getter for the database object, which is future of type database get db async. If the database object is not null, it will be returned. Else we will initialize the database using another function. We will name it initdb. This one will also be asynchronous. It first gets the directory path for the database, where dir is equal to get databases path, and the final path will be, okay, wait a minute, the get databases path function is a future function, so we'll await it. So the final path will be the concatenated string of our directory path as well as our database name, so which in this case is notup.db. Then we'll call the open database function, which will also be await, and then return it. So inside the open database function, we have to pass a few parameters. The path is a positional parameter, then the version is an optional parameter, and an onCreate. So the onCreate takes a function which will be called only once, which is when the database is first created. So we'll pass it database type DB and int version, and inside it we will await the database to execute an SQL string. The SQL string will be for the creation of our table. So let's first set up our table name. Final string table is equal to notes. So our SQL string for creating the table will be create table, and we'll use the variable of table name and table, and inside it we will have 4 columns. That will be the ID column, which corresponds to the ID variable inside the note model. The ID column will be integer. It will be the primary key, as well as it will be set to auto increment. Then there will be the date column, which will also be an integer. Then the title column, which will be a text field. Then the content column, which will also be of type text. So the first time the database is created, this function is executed and our table is also created. Then we will return the database. So if the database is null, we'll await the initialization of database and pass it to our static database object. Then we'll return the database object. Okay, done. Now let's create the basic operations for our database as functions, which will be add, update, delete and retrieve. So here, future of type void add, and it takes a note object as parameter, and it is asynchronous. It will first await the DB getter, await DB. Okay, let's just copy and paste this thrice for our other functions as well. Okay, 1, 2, and 3 there. So after the database is retrieved, we will await the execution of database.insert. Okay, await database.insert the table name, and the values field will be the note.toMap. The note.toMap function gives us map of type string dynamic. Before we do this, we will call the setDate function for the note object. Okay, the same goes for our next function as well, note.setDate. Then await database.update table. Okay, let's change its name from add to update. This is the second function. Table and value, instead of values, we'll call the toMap function of the note object. Then we'll also give 2 more parameters, which are where and whereas. For where, we'll give the string id equal to question mark, and the whereas will take a list that will be note.id. Okay, now let's modify the next function. This one doesn't need the setDate function call, so we'll just await database.delete table name, where and whereas, where id equal to question mark and whereas list note.id. Let's change the name of the previous function from add to delete. So the next function will be get notes. Okay, this is the same as a retrieve function. So this one will be returning a list of type note. So basically it means a list of note objects. So the function call will go as follows. We'll create a list of type map, which is of type string comma dynamic maps variable, which will be assigned after data is retrieved from the database by using database.raw query. We'll be using the raw query because we need our data retrieved in the order of its date. We'll be ordering it by date in the descending format, of course. So select star from table, order by date, DESC for descending. There. Now we'll create a list of type note object, that is notes. We'll just initialize it to a new list of type note. So for every map of type string comma dynamic in maps, we'll create a note object and then add it to our notes list. For map string comma dynamic map in maps, notes dot add note dot from map. We'll be using the named constructor here. We pass the map. We don't need to pass a parameter to a getNotes function. Okay, done. So let's go back to our home.dart file. Let's change the refresh function from a useless future.delete to a call to our database to get our notes. So for that, let's create a list of type note and we'll name it as notes. We'll keep it. Okay. So we'll assign the result from the getNotes call to the database to our notes list. In the edit function, let's go. Okay, we'll create a variable to our edit class, which is of type final note, and this one will be given when the constructor is called note, and this dot note. So this shows an error note isn't a type, which means the note.dart file isn't imported. Let's import it. Okay, what do we do next? Okay, let's modify save and delete functions. So instead of the useless future.delete, let's just keep this one null for now. Let's first go for the delete function. The delete function doesn't depend on the edit mode boolean, so I wait db.delete and will pass the widget.note object. Okay, done. Now let's modify our save function. We'll first ensure that the text field corresponding to the title field isn't empty. If it isn't empty, we'll pass the value or pass the text inside the title text field to the widget.notes title variable. The same goes for content variable as well. Widget.note.content equal to content.text. Okay, now let's check if okay, let's just go to a home.dart file first. We haven't passed anything. Specifically, we haven't passed a note object to our edit widget here. The on press of floating action button, we are passing a new note because we are creating a note, and inside the on tab we'll be passing whichever note was tapped. So item count will be notes.length, and we'll just create a note object which contains the current note object in the notes list, and the title will be note.title, and the subtitle will be note.content, but we'll keep a max lines limit for 2, and on overflow text overflow.ellipsis. Okay, the getter length was called on null. Don't worry about that for now. Okay, in the on tab function we are passing a note object, the current note object in the notes list. Okay, just keeping on loading, which means we are not getting anything from the database. Let's check a log. Okay, no implementation found for method get databases path. We'll just try a Flutter clean. Okay, let's uninstall that app from my phone. Uninstalled. Let's go to terminal and type the command flutter clean. Okay, cleaned. Let's try running that again. While we are waiting for this to load, let's go to our edit.dart file. Okay, we need a condition there, so let's go to home. Two kinds of passing, new note as well as note which already has contents. So widget, sorry, we don't need to check if the note is empty or not here. We'll just check if the edit mode boolean is true or false. Let's install the app first. Install. Now loading widget. Some kind of error there. That's because conditional statements isn't complete. So errors are gone. Connection lost. Let's rerun that. So app has reopened. Now let's go back to our save function. If edit mode is set to true, let's await the execution of db.update method. Okay, I'm expecting an error. So where is it? Alright, save. And there's the error. Positional argument. So the update method expects a note object as its parameter. So we'll pass widget.note. Any other errors? Okay. There is a warning. So we have passed the icon button for delete to the app bar under a condition, which is if edit mode is true. This isn't supported in older versions of Flutter. Okay. If edit mode is not true, that is, we'll use the else statement here. Else, we'll await db.add method. The add method also takes a note object as its parameter. We'll pass the widget.note here also. Done. Now let's go to our init state method. We have to set our edit mode to true or false in the init state. So if widget.note.id is null, which means we are passed a new note object from the previous page. So we'll change it as not equal to null. We only need to change that. Title.text equal to widget.note.title and content.text equal to widget.note.text. That is the default text inside our two text fields will be that from the note, and edit mode will also be true. So let's hot restart. We'll save this one as title1. Okay, save, go back, title 1 is there. Let's create another one, title 2. So there title 2 appears above title 1. Now let's create another one also, title 3. As you can see, descending. Okay, that shouldn't be like that. Let's save that again. As you can see, descending order of creation. 3, 2, 1. Let's modify title 1 and see if it appears at the top. Okay, it appears at the top. So let's modify title 3 as well. Title 3 modified, back there. Title 3 modified is now at the top, and title 1 is just deleted. Let's delete title 3 as well. Okay, there. Let's change the color to colors, but something better. Colors.white 70. Yeah, this one looks much more better. Okay, so this is it. This is our app. Thank you for watching.